Good day, race fans. Welcome back to another edition of Headline News Weekly here on the Metaverse Racing News Network. We are going to go ahead and jump right into it. We've got a whole lot going on that we're going to talk about real quick. One of the first things that we are talking about today is the blossom season is happening soon. We are less than a week away from the start of the blossom season. I checked in with the Upland team and to try to see if we could get some sort of a comment from them regarding blossom season. And the only thing I got was they're working on an announcement. Blossom season racing is supposed to start on April 1st. Hopefully, we will get an announcement before then. I am told, however, that the racing should be pretty much the same as it was last season. So I did get, quote, a few tweaks, unquote. So we'll see how that plays out with this upcoming season coming up very soon. So stay tuned for information from that. And of course, we will have all the information over on the URL server as well. So please feel free to jump over to that server and look out for any announcements that are coming up for the Frost season series in Upland Racing. And moving on over to our Upland Racing League competition that's happening right now. We are in the midst of the stock car competition series. And as you can see, checking out the leaderboard this past week after race 5 at the HB Industrial Track, San Mahoney with the win, taking over the first place spot over Matsuda by one single point. So the reins have changed hands over to San Mahoney, taking the first place position over Matsuda R. KO Ninja still holding in there strong in third place. Wanderer 1976, easily the rookie of the season, who has placed in the finals in four out of the 5 races, and came in with a second place finish for the second week in a row, moving him up to the fourth place position handedly last week and staying there again this week. Mwaga and Metaspook switching places for the fifth and sixth spot. Buellman TB125 still holding out for seventh and eighth, respectively. Phalos making a great start to finish out the season with a nice third place victory, driving for J.H. Tolton. And that is our Upland Racing League leaderboard brought to you by the Tolton Racing Group. And if you look over on the money list, Matsuda R is still holding on to that number one spot. San Mahoney quickly coming up on him with 340,000. KO Ninja at third place with 250,000, and Wonder 1976 in fourth with 235. Metaspook still barely holding on to the fifth place spot on the leaderboard for the money list. Week 6 track. We are at the Schools Out Speedway for week 6 coming up this Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the MRNN network. And just so everybody knows, this is a newly sanctioned track coming out of Oakland, California. This is owned by Uplando. We did a track switch between the WWP track, which is also an Uplando track, over to this one, as we felt that this one had a little bit more of a challenge to it. It is a very fast track, as you can see, with 19 turns at only 1.67 miles. I would expect these guys to run through this very, very quickly. And it's not a super technical track. It does have some technical spots to it. There is a good boost spot. We will see a lot of people boosting in that area as we go along through this. And our week 6 lineup here for you. We wanted to go ahead and introduce our lineup for this week coming up on the URL. Heat number 1, we have Buellman, Wanderer 1976, Dr. Tid, and KO Ninja will be our pole starter for heat number 1, along with M. Wagamizzi and Metaspook. Heat number 2 will feature Phalos, who is driving for J.H. Tolton, Matsuda R., Shackleton, who is driving for Swedish Mogul, and San Mahoney as our starter, along with TB 125. And that is our pole and heat lineup for race number 6 coming up on Friday. And checking out what's going on around the metaverse this week, we've got a whole lot going on. Um, Aside from the normal stuff, we do have Hyde Park Ninjas have been working hard on their event that's happening for their March Madness challenge. We did have a bit of a change on the leaderboard. Phalos taking over the Series 1E position and really making a name for himself out there with a 331.332 on the Hyde Park Hammer, which is not easily done for sure. So congratulations for Phalos on taking over that spot. The other spots really haven't moved. Buellman still holding down the S2E spot. C324R15 holding down the Series 4. Laban in the Series T and the Kart Series. So hopefully they will be able to make some more moves on this leaderboard. But Phalos putting down a 331.332 on the Hyde Park Hammer is really a good time. And checking out our auto market wrap up for this week. Let's see if we can find some deals out there. The biggest mover we had this week was the Series 1E with a 44.29% drop in the USD market from 367 last week down to 204.75. So if you're looking to pick up a Series 1E, perhaps you want to run in the Pro Series that the URL runs once a year in that Series 1E. Now is a good time to pick one up on the USD market. Very little change happening in the UPIX market, with the exception of the Series SE, which saw a 42.8% rise, along with a 66.67% rise in the UPIX market as well. So it's just something to check out if you got any time to go look at those cars that are out there on the market. You could potentially find yourself a really good deal. So check it out. And we are going to bring on a special guest today. We have featured today uh, the DAC man coming in from the Upland Racing League. Perhaps we can get him to talk a little bit about what's happening in the league this week. Zach Man, good to see you, my friend. How are you? Welcome to the Headline News Weekly Show. First time we've had you on this show, so welcome. Glad to have you. How's things going?
Thank you. It's going great. I'm liking the new studio.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a work in progress, and of course, trying to figure out all the buttons and switches and how to do things has been a bit of a challenge. But we're getting there, and hopefully, we'll be able to put out a good show this coming Friday with the new software. So we'll see how it goes. So far,
I'm excited about it, and I think that's been the path of URL, right? It's testing, experimenting. We experimented with Upland when X1 came to us about trying to do community racing. That's what we've always been about,
mhm.
and we've tried different streaming and kind of experiences. Not always perfect, but that's kind of what made us us.
Right, right, and so uh, we're coming up to the kind of the end of the season. We had an interesting turn of events last week with the top five racers going into heat number two last week, all being in the same heat. So that kind of played with the board a little bit. I know we generally randomize these things, and that just happened to come out that way. But it has presented a bit of a challenge, especially for Matsuda, who lost his first place position after 4 weeks of being on top. I can certainly see multiple scenarios playing out with this leaderboard that we have. Tell me about it. What are you thinking here?
Well, I think it was interesting to see, the top five. It gave people in the middle of the pack an opportunity to step up a little bit. And I got to say, KO Ninja is in a much better position. He's only 8 points down from the first place. Wonder and M Waga have done really well, and so they were able to kind of bring up their game a little bit. That's, I think, going to make it interesting going into the eighth race when we kind of start to see the final points. And so it's still, though, a race between Sam Mahoney and Matsuda R. KO Ninja is he going to ninja them in the end? It's kind of wait and see, right?
Yeah, and this week's track, we took a look at it earlier. It is a fairly tricky track. It is a very fast track. I think that KO can probably hold in there on this track, as long as he gives it the practice time like he's been doing throughout the previous part of the season. So hopefully KO can hang in there. And I know I saw both Phalos, who was driving for JH Stolten, and M Waga were practicing on this track. So I think these guys are going to have their work cut out for them once we get into this race on Friday.
Yeah, and I think that that's the key is they've been practicing and kind of getting at it, and you'll see TB 125 has said before that he just hasn't had as much time to run practices, and it reflects in his score. I mean, he also had technical difficulties last week, so that doesn't help. But
Right.
yeah, knowing the track, running the track well, I mean, that's what's setting them apart. I like that KO has also made it part of their show with High Park Ninjas in terms of like they do like practice races and they just make it
Mhm.
part of their show. And so they've incorporated their community into it. I know Mahoney, I mean, they do practice runs where the whole team and they have a good racing team overall gets together and they challenge each other so that they have real world type of racing experience because you can block people out, you can make it difficult for people to hit the fast lane. So it really has been evolving and getting better in terms of teams and individual drivers racing.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much since they've added some features to the driving, as far as lane changes and braking and boosting and that sort of things over the first season that we were on when it was strictly AI that was driving for us. And it seems that, uh, you know, now you can really start to see the strategies coming out and the
Yeah.
positions coming out, and these guys really working on how to block out in different lanes, how to block out from people boosting and those sorts of things. So it's really making it, number one, it's making it freaking fun to watch. That's for sure. And number two, it really is making it so the best drivers are coming out on top, and the ones that are really putting in the work and putting in the effort to learn the tracks and learn how these things take place. That's really starting to show up here towards the end of the season.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm looking forward to um, us being able to bring on people to this show and get others to talk about what they're doing in racing,
Hmm.
manufacturing, some of the business models that are starting to come out. I mean, I've seen a lot of map assets being created for racetracks, and people are doing
Hmm.
good with creating these map assets for racetracks. And so there is a whole economic model to racing in Upland that I think a lot of players are starting to tune into.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And you can see it with the again, like you said, the map assets are insane. There's bleachers and fencing and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff out there. And I think I saw somebody that had what was it, the traffic cones and the all kinds of stuff out there that's really really making it very immersive when you're racing, and I think that certainly makes a big difference.
And it's why we also at URL, our sanctioned tracks requires such high standards, in terms of
Hmm.
property ownership, development, so that when we race on a track, it's not just barren plots. It's got character to it.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
All
and
right.
and it's helping out the owners of the tracks. It's helping out the community that they're surrounded themselves with, and bringing awareness to those areas, and that I think is huge.
That was the plan from the get-go.
Right on, right on. Well, Dak, it was great that you were able to come on with us today. We really, really appreciate it. And we're going to wrap things up here today for the news for this week. And we will see everybody out on the track on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, excuse me, 1:30 or 10:30 Pacific Time.
10:30.
I have been getting that wrong all week, but hopefully we'll be able to get it together. So, but anyway,
Thank you.
Jack, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You have
Thank you
have
for having
yourself
me on.
have a great afternoon. All right, boys and girls, and that's going to do it for us today. We really appreciate you coming on with us and watching us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you got everything down there that you need to make sure that you're catching all of the news here on the MRNN, along with all the racing in the Upland Metaverse. And we will see you on the track.